Spending too much time in narrow, stiff, heavily cushioned and heel-raised shoes can weaken the foot and cause injury. I'm going to show you the most fun way to regain your natural foot strength and build world-class balance. What's going on, guys? It's Vaughan here from Body Elements, and today we're going to explore the balance beam. We're going to go through how it can be used to build up our feet and how it can be used to improve our balance. First off, what constitutes a balance beam? So a balance beam can be any kind of narrow surface that challenges your balance as you walk up and down the beam. Balance beams can be anything from the curb on the side of a road, falling over trees, handrails, 2x4s laid on the side, or even a strip of tape laid out on the ground. You might be wondering, why do I even need balance training? If our balance is poor throughout our life, simple tasks such as walking, running, jumping, most sports become more difficult and less efficient. In terms of foot strength, as I mentioned earlier, narrow, stiff, heavily cushioned and heel-raised shoes weaken our feet and cause balance degradation. Spending more time barefoot and wearing minimalist style shoes, as well as using the balance beam, is going to regain our natural foot strength. I have another video that goes more into detail about a barefoot lifestyle. If you're interested, I'll leave a link in the video. Let's break down how the balance beam actually works. So every time you challenge your balance on the balance beam, if you fall off, your brain recognizes that it did something wrong when it fell off. The brain sends signals to the hip and the foot to make minor corrections each time you're starting to lose balance and your center of mass goes off of its neutral axis. As you can imagine, if you're playing sports and you're about to roll your ankle, your body's going to know what to do before it rolls that ankle. If you're about to tear your ACL, the body's going to correct the knee, pull it back to neutral before you tear your ACL. And that's why the balance beam is so powerful. It trains all of the 29 muscles of the foot to help stabilize the leg and the hips, again, preventing all the injuries that would usually occur if you had weak feet and if you had poor balance. All this time you're spending strengthening your foot, legs, hips, building coordination, you're having a heap of fun doing it. Jump on a balance beam and find out, you realize how much fun it really is. First off, in terms of the balance beam, as I mentioned earlier, can be any kind of narrow surface that challenges your balance as you walk up and down or move around on the beam. My preferred type of balance beam, and one you can use at home, is just a regular cylinder. It's about 1.2 meters long and it's about 50 millimeters or 2 inches in diameter. These might be called wooden dowels at your local hardware store, or you could go to a supplier such as Foot Collective. They sell purposely made balance beams. The most typical materials to use for a balance beam will be something like metal or wood, as these are nice sturdy surfaces. They also last outdoors. If you don't want to invest in a proper balance beam, and you just want to try some sort of low budget option to see, just try and get the feel for it, what you can do is buy just a regular 2x4 and sit it on its side. It's not going to be as nice to use as the cylindrical balance beams that I've recommended, but it's still somewhere to start. If you really have no equipment and you don't want to spend any money, as I said earlier, there's things like handrails down at your local park. You can use curbs from the side of the road. You can use branches of trees. You can even put a strip of tape on the ground. This will still challenge your balance, just stick to the strip of tape. Back on the standard balance beam, what we use for holding these standard balance beams, we can either use cradles or we can use some sort of metal coupling. So with the wooden beams, we tend to use cradles. Cradles can be made of rubber, they can be made of wood, they can be made of cork. You could make one of your own. Or if you've got a metal beam, you can use these metal couplings, the same sort of couplings that they use on scaffolding. The disadvantage of the cradles is they're not actually stuck to the beam, and it's a little bit inconvenient sometimes, whereas if you have some sort of metal coupling or a fixture, a wooden fixture at the end to hold the beam in place, it's a bit more convenient when you're moving the beam around or if you want to use it on a surface that's not level. I'll leave a link in the description for where you can find balance beams and cradles and metal couplings. The main message when using the balance beam: don't look down and don't fall off. This basically means just don't think about it too much. Your body is responsible for correcting these balances, and that's what you're on there for. Now, along with the don't fall off and don't look down philosophy, we do want you to just play when you use the beam, but there are some standard exercises you can use on the balance beam, and that's what I'm here for. I'm going to help you find out where to start and what kind of exercises you can put together for your play session. First off, we've got the walk. So pretty simple, you're just walking up and down the balance beam. You walk straight forward and then try walking back. I like to repeat this about 5 or 6 times. Another really basic move is just a single leg hold. So you're just standing on each leg for about 30 seconds each side. Play around with what muscles activate while you're using your hips to stabilize in this position. Once we've conquered the single leg hold, we can move on to the tandem hold. This is just one leg in front of the other and standing still, again, for 30 seconds each side. And if you're comfortable in the tandem position, see if you can squat down. Try this on both legs for a couple of times a session. Once you've covered off all the basic forward holds, you can start to move to the side and get into what we call the ninja stance. The ninja stance can be done by standing on the beam with the part of your foot between the ends of your toes and the balls of your feet, so the middle parts of your toes, or it can be done with the arches of your feet. If you're using the arches of your feet, it's going to also give you a little bit of soft tissue work. So it's going to be loosening up those tight feet. See if you can hold this position for about 30 seconds. And again, once you get comfortable in the ninja stance, try a ninja stance squat. The last basic move I use, and one of the more advanced basic moves, is just doing a transition. So without your feet leaving the beam, you're just transitioning from looking one way to looking the other way. You can either do half transitions into the ninja stance, or you can do full transitions. I like to do about 5 or 6 of these each session. Those are all the basic moves I'll use in a typical 5-minute session. I like to use the balance beam for about 5 minutes each day. I implore you to find what exercises you enjoy and make up your own little freestyle routines. You don't have to follow what exercises I've just given you, but just keep them in mind if you want to put something together yourself. Now we can move on to some advanced balance beam exercises. The first exercise most people have seen is just a pistol squat, but instead of being on flat ground, it's going to be on the balance beam, which makes the exercise a little bit more difficult because it's challenging your balance. It does, in one way, make it a bit easier because the elevation of the balance beam will reduce the amount of hip compression you need for a pistol squat. With the pistol squat, you're just standing on the beam with one leg, lowering yourself down into your bottommost position, and then pushing back up. You can also add weight to this exercise if you want a little bit of an extra challenge. Another advanced exercise I like to play around with is called the karaoke or the grapevine. So again, you might have seen people do these on flat ground, but it's going to be harder on the balance beam. So starting in the ninja stance, we want to take one of our feet, place it behind the other foot, and then we're going to take the other foot and place that behind the first foot we moved. Keep that going for as long as you can without falling off. This is not only really good for our coordination, but it's also a very good foot arch strengthening exercise. Another advanced move we can use is a balance beam jump. Pretty self-explanatory, you're just jumping on the balance beam. The higher you jump, the more difficult it's going to be. You can even add rotations in, so you could do a 180 or you can do a 90-degree jump. If you're really good, I can't actually do them, but maybe you can try a 360-degree jump. Just make sure you're being careful if you're doing these on hard surfaces. Might be worth practicing on grass. And the last advanced exercise I'm going to go through is using additional equipment on the balance beam. You can take any basic stance and just add equipment in. For example, I can do a single leg hold and juggle at the same time, or I can sit on the beam and do shoulder dislocates with a stick for mobility. These moves are very time efficient for the adventurous types. And as I said earlier, you can just add the basic and the advanced exercises in together, create your own little freestyle routine. The heart and soul of the beam is having fun while you're training your coordination, foot strength, leg strength, hip strength. So enjoy the process and make of it what you will. There are so many moves you can do on the balance beam, your imagination is the limit. For those of you that hadn't heard of the balance beam, I hope this introduces you to the balance beam, and I hope you can incorporate it into your regular routines. And for those of you that have, I hope this helps you learn a couple of things you might not know about the balance beam. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe or leave a comment. It helps the channel heaps, and I'll catch you guys next time.